welcome here. If you're new here, my name's Bethany. I'm the girl behind Well Love Knits. Today I'm excited to just sit down and tell you a little bit about what's been on and off my needles over the last couple of weeks, months, because it's been a while since I've done a little bit of an update here on my projects. And I have exciting news, things that I'm really proud of and really excited to share with you. First, I want to mention my sweater. It's a ranunculus. Admittedly, this does not fit me very well. It is definitely a very cropped top. My belly bump is poking right out. It just sits just above it. I made this. It was cropped when, I made it. It's not just because of the belly that it's very short. I made it that way. I only had a certain amount of knitting for olive merino, which I held double to achieve this really nice fabric. I love the fabric of this sweater, but I didn't really have, I just wanted to use what was on hand. So the sleeves are a little bit shorter than I would like, and it's definitely more of a crop top. But before pregnancy, I was able to get away with wearing high-waisted jeans, and it worked out just fine for me, and it seemed to fit really well. I would love to knit another ranunculus. I gotta tell you, now that the weather is getting springy, it is something that I've been playing with. I do have yarn in stash that I think I can't imagine using really for anything else, so that might happen. But it is twisted up in a hank form, so that always stops me from casting on because I just really don't like the whole process of getting out my winder and Swift. So I think I'll be safe and not have that as another cast on, because I do still have projects that I want to wrap up. It looks like it's gonna start raining. We had a lot of nice sun when I sat down, and after getting all set up and everything, looks like it's gonna rain. So that might change. I hope it doesn't really affect what the camera's doing. Okay, yeah, let's just get into the projects. The first one, finished object, only finished object that I have to share, but it's a huge one. So, I mean, this is what we came for, is my sweater number 15. I really should make sure that that's right. Okay, let's see. I know I'm probably annoying you if you are a returning viewer. Every time I talk about it, I'm like, I don't know what number it is, but I'm being quite genuine that I never can remember. I didn't even write it down. I was using this page for another project, and I put the pattern name of that project that I ended up frogging and not going forward with, and I crossed it out, and then I just added in all the details for this project. I didn't write it down. Okay, there it is, sweater number 15. Okay, I should have just believed in myself. Wow, it's super dark. I should have just believed in myself. Sweater number 15 is correct. I cast this on in the end of January, and at the end, like at the beginning, I thought it was going by really fast. I was really amazed with how it was flying off the needles. But then in February, we went to the US, and this was the only project that I decided to take with me. And I don't know, after that trip, then coming home with it and everything, it just felt like it was on the needles for a really long time. Even my husband was like, wow, I feel like you've been working on that sweater monogamously, mind you, for months. And in the end, it was about 2 months, because I finished this on exactly the 31st of March. Wow. Yeah, so let's have a look at it, shall we? Oh man, it's so pretty. I have not blocked it. I have not woven in all my, well, the ends are woven in, and I just need to like snip the yarn. The details of this, I mean, it's the same cable knit throughout, the same twist throughout, and I really love the way that it looks. I did not I wouldn't go as far as to say hate, but I was not very thrilled by the end of the project working on just this twist over and over again. I felt like I got bored, which is what I was not thinking was going to happen with a cabled project. I just kind of assumed that it was always going to keep me engaged. But, you know, every few rows, doing the twisted repeat, and then doing knit and purling, it was definitely a very relaxing and it was a very therapeutic knit. It was very easy for me to just pick it up. It was a go-to knit in that way because at the end of the day, I'm definitely trying to find something that I don't need to use a lot of brain power on. So this definitely was a go-to knit for that. I was always reaching for it because it was just so easy to pick up and work on because I just knew it was so memorable. The steps were memorable. Once I got past whatever transition point in the pattern, which there were not many, I was good, you know, and I was able to just knit without having to look at my phone, which is huge for me. I really want to do that because if I have to keep looking at my phone for pattern steps, I will just look elsewhere. I'll go into another app that I should not be on, and then I will lose a lot of time. And that does happen from time to time. Wow. It is hailing. So maybe you have some nice relaxing hail in the background with this podcast too. So, wow. The weather is so weird recently. This past week, we've been having really, really nice weather, beautiful days. We have a park really close by, and Arthur and I have been able to go and hang out outside basically a lot these past couple weeks. But this week in particular, it's just been rain, and we've had many hail showers, which is just so bizarre. And like hail that's, I mean, it's like this big. It doesn't seem like it's really damaging, but it covers our entire deck, which it's doing right now. And then it's just like white ice on our deck. So strange. We're supposed to have friends over to grill out in the backyard later this afternoon. I don't know how that's going to go. But anyway, back to the sweater. Maybe if I would have blocked this sweater, this would have been a perfect outfit for today. I haven't really been motivated, so it's middle of April and I finished this in March. One thing that I'm going to do today while Arthur and Dad are out for a little bit is definitely spend the time to block this. I think I need to do that. I just don't really think it's going to fit me. And since we've had really nice days, this is an after pregnancy kind of sweater. I don't really know if I have the maternity clothes to pair with this, to style it in a way that would still look flattering, if that makes sense. Like this won't cover the bump. I think I carry my bump is very predominant. I don't think like any part of baby stays in my original body frame. My stomach is massive. When I was out in the US in February, I got a comment being like, oh, wow, you must be delivering very soon. And I was like, if you think June is soon, I don't. But now it is. I mean, we're less than 2 months out from baby's due date. So now I definitely see that, you know, I mean, I look like I could pop, but I've looked like I could pop since beginning of February, to be honest. So I just carry really out there, and I don't really want to stretch out the sweater, which is why I have not blocked it. I will insert some footage if I'm able to get some of it now pre-blocked or before blocking and then after blocking. That would be kind of fun to have a little look at the cables because these are definitely going to stretch out a lot more. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the sweater will flow. Maybe that will change my mind on if it's wearable or not. But then also because we've been having really sunny weather, I haven't really wanted to grab for woolly wools, which is why I'm daydreaming about ranunculi. But I'm really happy with my decision on the cobalt blue. I think this was such a fun sweater to knit because of the color alone, and having it as just a loud sweater yeah, I'm just looking forward to adding that kind of color into my wardrobe. Because did I tell you guys what kind of inspired this cast on was one day I was doing laundry and I was sorting the clothes. We do it all at once. I don't do like my clothes, my husband's clothes, and baby's clothes. And I was sorting them all out. And all the other piles seemed to have some nice color, but everything that was mine was black or it was gray. And that made me sad. And I was just like, this needs to change. So that kind of influenced this really loud color. And I do not regret it at all. Really looking forward to wearing it. So you might be interested in how much yarn this took or how much I have left over because I used a woolly knit cone. I used the British wool in indigo and I used a full 500 gram cone. And this is what I have left. I didn't actually weigh it. That would be really interesting. I should have done so. Maybe I will follow up with you guys on that next time. But this is what I had left over from the 500 gram cone. I used one strand of this yarn and I paired it with drops mohair in a very cobalt blue. So the indigo, like I've mentioned before, is a little bit heathered, so it's not one unified color throughout. The camera definitely picks it up more unified than it is in person, but pairing it with the cobalt blue mohair really helps. And there's just kind of like an aged feel to this, I think. Again, I don't really think you can see it on camera as much, but in person, there are just little flecks of gray and white in the blue. It's just crazy, the hail. That make it look a little bit more worn out. And I like that effect that it's been given. So I could definitely use this for color work, I'm sure. Down the road, we'll definitely hold on to this. I think this is more than enough yarn to use for another project in the future. I completed my first cable work sweater, cable knit sweater. I've started sweaters in the past and they never were finished. And so this is my first complete one. And I have to tell you, if there's anything that is stopping you from doing a project like that, where it's like you've always wanted to do it, you know you would really enjoy the finished piece. You have the motivation, but you're just a little nervous on if it's something you can handle. Just don't think, just do. Just do it because you'll be really happy that you did. Okay, so that's my only finished object, but I have a sweater that is just so close to being finished. I almost want to just count this as a finished object, but I won't because that's not honest. So another one of these sweaters that's a little bit more out there, that is 2024 for me. I am casting on the sweaters that might shock 2020, 2021, 2022 Bethany. So this is the Mega Erika jumper by Spectacle Strick. I don't know if I mentioned sweater number 15 is my favorite things knitwear. Duh. But this one is the Mega Erika jumper by Spectacle Strick. Like I said, I really love Spectacle Strick because of her really out there designs. And in January, I think maybe it was like trying to battle seasonal slump a little bit. I was really trying to go for things that are just outside of the box and kind of reinvigorate my craft a little bit, because it's not that I was in a knitting slump per se, but I still don't feel 100% where I used to be. And I just don't know if that's just life, you know? Maybe you can relate to this. Let me know if you do. It's amazing. It's been 4 years, right? Since 2020, the pandemic. And that's kind of when I started doing all of this. And it's just, well, it's been 4 years. So there's a lot of change that can happen in 4 years. And it's understandable that my enthusiasm for knitting has ebbed and flowed, you know? I've definitely gained a lot more skill, but, you know, it's not something that I want to do all the time. I've talked about this a little bit, but just to reiterate, I think kind of the reason why I wanted to do some projects that I don't necessarily know if they're the most useful projects, is just because I'm trying to find different ways to pique my interest with my needles and really maintain that motivation. It could be from a lot of things. I think it's mainly the natural evolution of a craft that you've been doing for so long. 2019, I started knitting again. So like 5 years, you know? So anyway, that's where the Mega Erika jumper came in. And actually I wanted to knit the Mega Erika jumper. These projects are all related because originally I wanted to do something really out there. That's what I wanted. I wanted to do a lot of color. And then I was just like, let's do like the craziest project, something that I would never have cast on before. And then I did cast on with this indigo. And I was just like, that's a little too much, Bethany. Let's go back a little bit, rein it in, because it was almost like the opposite problem. It was like, that's too out there that it won't attract me to work it up, if that makes sense. Where it's like, every time I have this project in my hands, it's just like, this is so wild. I'm never going to wear this kind of thing. So I didn't want that. And so that's when I decided on the sweater number 15. So I was just like, okay, the design of the Mega Erika jumper is this big mesh jumper. And that's not normally something that I would find useful to knit because that's usually how I go. So let's go for a more neutral color or a navy. I wouldn't call that neutral, but it's a safer color. And that way I can play with the mesh and still feel like I can find a way to wear it. And this is not a slight to Spectacle Strick at all. I think that this design is really, really cool. Obviously, I wanted to cast it on for a reason. I thought it looks really awesome, but it is kind of a joke between me and my husband. We call this the useless sweater because it's knit in wool, but it's very holey. The joke is that, you know, it's not going to do anything for me warmth-wise. Like this is a very frivolous cast on. This is a project and this is only for style points, you know, the sweater. When I wear it, it'll only be for style and not for the purpose of staying warm. So we call it the useless sweater, but here it is. I got through both of the sleeves by the end of March also. I think I finished up my sweater number 15 and then I went through the sleeves of this one so fast. This is another one where even more so than sweater number 15, it's so much of a joy to knit. The repeat, I really, really love for the mesh. I want to see if you can really even see what's going on here. Oh yeah, you can. So I love everything about knitting this mesh. As you know, as much as I joke that it is a useless sweater, it's a fun knit, you guys. I would highly, highly recommend that you work this up. If you think that maybe you would like to wear a mesh sweater in any capacity, I would definitely recommend this one because truly this is not a very, I was going to say a long project. Yeah, it really shouldn't take you very long. It will fly off the needles because it's a 6mm. Yeah, I think the only reason that it took me so long is because I was focused on sweater number 15 and then traveling and everything, not bringing this with me. If I would have brought this with me, I think in February, I probably would have finished it then. But it wasn't until, after I finished sweater number 15 that I really got going with this project again. So I did the whole body and then it sat for probably like a month or so. But I think it looks really, really good. And when the light catches it, you really can see how nice the navy and the mesh, you can really see how nice the mesh looks. I'm really impressed by it. I think that this is a really nice pattern. The only thing that I have left is the collar. So this is also knit with woolly knit fiber. This is also using a 500 gram cone of their merino in the navy colorway. And in contrast to the last one, I am definitely running low on yarn. But the reason for that is I knit 2 strands of the woolly knit held together with a mohair. Do I have that? The mohair that I'm using is from Katia Concept. It's just their navy colorway. It was the first time I was using that mohair and I really, really like it. Can highly recommend, mainly because of all of the colors that there's to choose from. I'm actually thinking about purchasing more of that mohair for another project in mind. But we'll talk about that in a sec. All I really have left is the collar. I did the sleeves first because I was worried that I was going to run out of yarn, but I think I'm in the clear now because this is everything I have left. And they're in really poorly wound up cakes because, well, I just did a really shoddy job at winding up cakes with my Swift, or my yarn winder. So this is everything that I have left. Holding 2 strands together. Basically what I do, because I saw a question, is I pull from the center and from the outside and just hold one, and that way I can just work with one ball. And then I have the mohair as well, so I'm working 3 strands, but it really only feels like I'm working with 2 because I have only 2 skeins that I'm trying to manage. And with mohair, it doesn't really worry, I don't have to worry about getting it all tangled up. But I think it would still work out pretty well if I was doing color work 2 strands held together as well. I think this should be more than enough for a collar. I really hope. Either way, I'm not going to fold it if it comes down to it and I look like I'm running low on yarn. Maybe I just won't fold it because I think it's a folded puffy collar. It's knit with twisted rib. I'm doing a lot of twisted ribs because sweater number 15 also had twisted rib. This one has twisted rib here. Oh, it's so pretty. I just did a regular Italian bind off and it works out just fine. There's something else that's recommended in the pattern, but I honestly just could not. I did not want to worry about it and learn something new. It was too much. Yeah, so really that's it. The only tricky thing about this is trying to pick up sleeves, stitches for sleeves. I had the same trouble with the other project too. I think just with these 2, they were very specific on how you need to pick up sleeves or stitches for sleeves. And it was something that I had to do over and over again, like retry a bunch. I think that's really it. Let me look at the notes that I have though, because that's what these books are for. Let's see, I don't know if I finished my entry on this one. Yeah, I started it on the 21st of January. Nice. Oh yeah, I forgot that I originally started this with a different type of mohair and I was really lucky to find the Katia Concept mohair that had good color match. Yeah, started sleeve 1 on the 31st of March and finished it on the 5th of April. So it was like 6 days for one sleeve. And I think for the second sleeve, I was a lot faster, but I didn't actually keep track that time. Yeah, needle size 6mm. And for both of these, I'm knitting the size medium. So this is definitely going to stretch out a lot, I think. This one might actually cover the bump too. So I should definitely finish this and block it as well. One thing that I would say just on the topic of blocking with woolly knit fiber, I would never block them together. Sometimes I've done that with more, like with Wool in the Gang and We Are Knitters, I used to, if I had multiple projects that needed blocking, I would go ahead and do both of them. Or if I would need to wash my sweaters, I used to do a bulk wash. And that was pretty safe with those types of yarn. I guess more like corporate yarn. I'm blanking on the word. There's more of a term for that. But with woolly knit and dark colors, obviously, I would not do such a thing. I almost, with my woolly knit sweater, my Farnham sweater that I knit black and white. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. The black, every wash, it bleeds a little bit. So that's just something to know. I will let you know how these go. I definitely can see the merino bleeding a lot. Maybe the British wool won't. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Okay, so those are like basically done. Those sweaters just need to finish up a little bit and do some blocking. Another project that I just want to follow up on, but to be honest, since that video, I have not really done all that much. It is my baby blanket. You guys, I'm just living in the moment here, and it's only now becoming, I think, more real that we're going to be bringing home a baby. Now that I'm 34 weeks as of today, I think. We have 6 weeks to go, potentially. I mean, Arthur was late. So mentally, I think I'm also thinking that I have more time because he was 10 days late. He came the day before I was supposed to be induced, and I was thanking the Lord, everyone, the universe. I mean, I was just very, very happy that he came and I didn't have to be induced. So, but he was late nonetheless, and there's really no correlation, or there's really no predicting a second baby. My OB told me that there's just, the baby's gonna come when he comes. He could come early, he could come late. I mean, it's just up to the baby. I think what's more typical is that labor is faster. So we'll see about that. I will let you know. And I'm really hoping for a faster labor because my first labor was 12 hours, which I think is pretty short for a first-time mom compared to what I've been reading. There's some people that have had like full days, but I'm counting like very active labor, like when we went to the hospital. By the time we arrived at the hospital and had the baby, it was 12 hours. So I was definitely laboring a little bit before that, but not enough to feel like I was in active labor. So with all that said, I think that I just mentally feel like I have a lot of time just because, yeah, Arthur just took his time to come out. He was very comfortable in there, in my belly. So I'm just assuming that his little brother is going to be the same. So there's really no urgency in my head that I need to be working on these baby knits. It's just more like, again, I don't know. I just want to knit sweaters for myself. And there's nothing wrong with that. But this is where I'm at with the baby blanket. I'm using the, not the Sweet Shop blanket, the Stella Quilt Cushion pattern. But Laura Penrose is working on a quilt version of so I think it's a Stella Quilt blanket. I am not part of the pre-knit group, but I'm going to be just using the Stella Quilt Cushion pattern. Anyway, I think from what I've seen, those knitting the preview, it looks a little bit bigger maybe. I don't know if the squares are a little bit bigger. So I'm happy with the size of the one for the quilt cushion because then for a baby blanket, I think it would just work out nicely. So I've started on the first, you could say, star, so the sawtooth star. But what my plan of action is, I'm going to continue working this panel. I think I'm going to have like 3 stars. So 8 more squares just going out this way. And then I'll work up. So I'll do it row by row. That's what I was thinking would be the best course of action for this blanket. I don't know. I can't tell you, and I wouldn't probably tell you if I was doing the preview how it was working. But yeah, these are just mitered squares, and you pick up and you work them however you please. But I think normally you do it in the row. And I think that would be the easiest way to do it. But I don't think I'm going to do sawtooth stars completely. I've shared a few times the inspiration board that I have for quilts, just in general, things that I've always wanted to make sewing wise, like quilting. A lot of inspiration there. Maybe one day when the babies are grown up, that will be my quilting era. Because I think right now, knitting is still the most convenient. But there is one where it does like a sawtooth star and then more of like a square and then a sawtooth star again. I thought that would be kind of fun to be a little bit more geometric and instead of uniform. But who knows? It's only when I'm casting on will I make that final decision, or like as I'm working it up, which is kind of nice to have that liberty that I don't need to plan ahead so much. Looking forward to that. What else to say? I can show you some of the colors again. So this is what I'm starting with, the first star. This is Drops Baby Merino again. Like I said, it's in unicolor, or this one is in the mix color. I really like this one. We have this green right here. We have this blue. I just picked colors that were kind of boyish that I thought would look really nice in the baby's room. It's brown. I think this is really pretty. And I think this is enough color, honestly. I just don't know if it's enough yarn. I didn't really think it through. I just was like, okay, I'm going to get one of each skein and kind of see. Because with the colors, I can just decide later, do I want a different color or do I want more of the same? Yeah, I really couldn't tell you about the timeline of that project. It really does feel like I'm going to be working on this even when baby arrives. And maybe that will give me the motivation that I need because, again, I'm really living in the moment here. I think with Arthur around, it's just the reality is with the second pregnancy, I just don't have as much time to really reflect on the baby. And I'm nesting, but in different ways. It's less about wanting to create for the baby, and we've been getting a lot of stuff done around the house. And that's where my priorities are lying in contrast to the project. But it would be nice, I think, when I have that one-on-one time with the new baby. When we're doing contact naps and things, if that's something that I will be able to do. I think I will because we have help coming. We have Ross's parents here as well. So I think there will be times when it's just going to be me and the baby alone, maybe contact napping. And I think that will be the time when it will be most special for me to work on the project. And he's a summer baby, so he doesn't really need a blanket, a really heavy blanket, a wool blanket right away. So I have time. But then again, I said the same thing with the quilt for Arthur, and I still haven't finished that up. Excuse me. So who knows, but it is nice to just have it on the needles and, well, not really even have it on the needles. It is actually really nice that this little baby blanket, I can just leave it be. Like I finish a square and I can leave the project and not worry about it being active on the needles. And maybe that also, I should just encourage myself to start this up because I can do a square in the evening. If I just do one square in the evening before I get started on my sweater projects, I might get a lot further. I should do that. I should really make an effort to do that. Another project. This is the one that has taken all of my attention. So, I mean, I told you guys in great length that I've been wanting to cast on a yellow sweater, and I've done it. I have done it, and I couldn't be happier, but you might be surprised at what I decided on. Okay, so let's just introduce the colors first. So again, this is Woolly Knit. This was nice, kindly sent over to me. This is their sunflower cone, British wool. And 500 grams, just like the other ones. And this, oh shoot, I don't have the label. And I can't remember it, even though it's a mohair that I talk about all the time this year. It's my new go-to because it's what's available to me. It is Edo Sensei silk mohair. I don't know what the colorway is, but it's a very light, pale yellow, and that's kind of what... I didn't want the yarn itself to be that, or the wool itself to be that pale, but I did want to pair it with a light yellow just to make it a little bit more muted, instead of like a banana yellow sweater, because I just don't know if yellow is my color, but nonetheless, I want a yellow sweater. And I'm really happy with how these two are working together. I do want to, before I show you the actual project that I decided on, I do want to bring up what I was playing with, like the idea I was playing with, and it's still on the needles too. In the end, I just decided that this is not it. I really wanted to do the Corshavin sweater by Strict Cafe, and I really loved it because it had like that basket weave stitch. It looked really, really nice. It looked really cozy. And I saw a yellow version of it and I thought, wow, that is what I want. But I have been with the Mega Erika jumper working with thicker needles recently. And I think I was comparing the joy that I have with this one to what started with this one. First of all, I had a really hard time starting the sweater with Italian cast on. That was so frustrating. I tried multiple times and it was just not something that I wanted to learn how to do. Even though the videos itself that I was watching, straightforward, it's very difficult, I think, to cast on and manage those cast on stitches before you're knitting them. And I was so worried that I was going to get all tangled up, and I think I ran out of yarn multiple times. Like I didn't get enough yarn for my cast on for this sweater multiple times, so I had to restart, also just to get familiar with the Italian cast on technique, and it was too much for me. I didn't like it. So then what I did was I did a crochet chain and did the pickup. What is that called? The cast on where you have the stitches, so I could pick it up later and then do the twisted rib portion later. And that would have been really nice, and I think it was a good solution. But then as I was knitting the pattern itself, I don't know, something about it I just wasn't really thrilled with. And I think it was also because I was knitting two strands held together with the yellow. I wasn't really liking how the mohair was pairing in that. It was just too obvious that it was a different color, and it wasn't making it that muted color that I was really hoping for. So even though this is still on the needles, I kept it because I was like, I'm not 100% sure, but now I can tell you after working on this for a couple of days, I know that this project that I've got for this yellow yarn is the one for me. And it is so ironic because it's the one that I keep saying over and over again, I'm never going to knit that for me. Can you guess what it is? It's the Ingrid sweater by Petite Knit. Even in my last, I've saved this pattern. I like the look of the sweater. It has grown on me. It was not a love at first sight kind of thing, but after knitting it for my son, it was something that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the project so much that then when I was looking at the sweater, I was like, I really like that sweater. But it wasn't until knitting it up that I had that appreciation for it, I feel. And so ever since then, I've been saving the same ones, that pattern for women, for adult women. I've been saving that one constantly on Instagram when I see one that I like. So this was really, I was playing with a lot of different pattern ideas, a lot of them that I was discussing in that video that I posted a couple weeks ago. some of my recent saves. I have a lot of other ones that could have potentially worked. And I ultimately just decided on petite knit again because I'm just familiar with her writing style. Because I have purchased the Colette pullover from Sorry Nordlyn, and I really like that too. It has a similar vibe. But I didn't really want to knit that one in yellow. I kind of wanted to knit that one in like a cream. But I was just like, okay, well, maybe let's just look at the pattern and see. Ultimately, I decided it was written in a way that I was not ready to change my mindset, if that makes sense. And then also, because I was kind of bored of the simple twisted cable, that's really what that pattern is. It's eyelets and simple twisted cable. And I really love the way that it looks, but it's not something that I wanted to knit. So I was in the mood for what I loved so much about the Ingrid sweater, and what I think many people love, is just that the texture changes constantly. And you're just always working on something new. And that in and of itself, you would think that it would be something where your head just needs to get in the mindset for it. But I've actually found that, you know, you just need to study the pattern a little bit before you get started on a section. And then you're good to go for that section. You know what I mean? And I'm really loving this. This looks so good. It's like looking in a mirror when you see the viewfinder on camera. Excuse me. Sorry, pregnancy, you know. I haven't really looked at this up against my body really at all. So it's kind of like looking in the mirror right now and being like, wow, okay, I could see this. This could work out for me. Again, I don't know if yellow is really my color, but I like it nonetheless. And I think that this is exactly the tone that I was trying to achieve. And I'm really happy with the way that the texture is working up. I mean, it's just like the Ingrid sweater baby that I made, just a lot thinner of a gauge. Because that one was a lot thicker and more substantial of a fabric, at least the yarn that I chose to use. This will definitely bloom with blocking, but it feels a lot more airy. But do you see how the mohair is really playing with the yellow? In some areas, it looks a lot more yellow, and in other areas, it looks a little bit more washed out, and I really like that effect right now. It makes me really happy. Yeah, so I'm working on the back yoke. This has only taken me a few days. I haven't even added this to my notebook. I should have, because I can't really remember. It was around my birthday that I did it, so I'm a mid-April baby. So it was like a week ago, less than. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to do. I was like, ooh, yeah, let's cast on for the this yellow sweater around my birthday, which was a nice way to celebrate in the evening. Watching Pride and Prejudice, that was my movie of choice for the evening. I haven't watched that one in a while. It's between that and Emma. Springtime, Emma, if you haven't seen that movie, it is probably one of my all-time favorite movies these days. It's just, I love the humor. I love the picture, like the costume design, the way that it was filmed. Everything is just wonderful about that. But Pride and Prejudice we hadn't seen in a while, so I did that one. And was knitting this one up for the first time. What more to say except for, you know, this is just, again, time and again, I tell you that I'm not going to do something and I do it. Such is life. Sometimes plans change. You can't always predict what you're going to like, what you're going to enjoy in the moment, what your decisions are going to be. You could say that I would never make that decision. And then, you know what? You do. You can say that you're never going to knit the Ingrid sweater. And then somehow you do. And I do not regret it, because another thing that really swayed me was like, okay, well, I already knit one for Arthur. Arthur has since outgrown that sweater, but baby number 2 is going to definitely be wearing that sweater, so I can match with him. And that will also give me some motivation to knit another one for Arthur, because it's just so much fun to do. And he looks so dang cute in it. And he wore that so much when he was a little boy, a little baby. He's still a little boy, but he's gotten so big. He's just grown up so much recently, and it's driving it. It's hurting my heart, but it's also making me really excited. I love it. It's he's starting to talk and say things constant, like have words. It's more of a secret language. He's not really saying the words, you know what I mean? But I know what he's talking about, and we're communicating, which is really cool. And that, you know, every month or two, there's just something new that just, I don't know. It's like, wow. I'm just so thrilled to be a mom and to be able to do it all over again. It's really, really great. That's really it in terms of what I've been working on. And those are my thoughts on my current projects. I will be casting on something else soon with this green. I just don't know what it is. And I have the mohair in mind, so that's what I was talking about with Katia Concept. They have a pistachio color that I think will pair very nicely with this. The Ito Sensei, while they probably have a color that is for me, it's pretty pricey. And I kind of regret picking up this skein because I was like, oh yeah, well, I'll just try it out. But it's like $11 or 11 euros. That's a lot of money. And you know, we gotta ball on a budget a little bit. So I think Katia Concept, it's like €6 something. And I think that's a little bit more reasonable. I used 3 skeins of the mohair for this project, but I also used one other skein of mohair that I already had. That was a different brand. So 4 skeins in total. So I think 4 skeins will work for a sweater. Anyway, I just have like this very specific fabric in mind, maybe paired with a little bit of a darker shade, not like dark, but like still the same pistachio, but just leaning a little bit on the darker side and pairing that together. That's kind of what I'm imagining. So I have more of the fabric in mind that I want and not exactly the project. I've been really thinking about a zipper sweater, but a zipper sweater in this green, I just don't know. I'm not convinced. It's not a bad idea. It's just, I'm not convinced about it. I don't really feel like knitting a very plain, boring stockinette turtleneck sweater. I don't feel like doing that. So, but I also don't feel like doing something in this all over cable with this green. I just don't feel like that's what I'm interested in. I think I'm interested in stockinette for it, but maybe a construction that's a little bit more interesting. Something has to be a little bit more interesting than the run-of-the-mill turtleneck. But then again, I was thinking maybe I could knit a caramel sweater. I have a caramel sweater that I knit in 2020. That is too small. I mean, after kids and stuff, you know, I need something a little bit wider. So I would maybe love to have that. But then again, that's exactly what I said I don't want. So, but I might just go for something like that just to have, yeah, the fabric that I'm really thinking about versus the process knit. But we'll see. We'll see. I think I'm going to make that order for the mohair, and then I don't know if I'm going to do a swatch, but that will definitely motivate me to make a decision. If you have any suggestions, let me know. I would love to hear it. Anything that you're working on in particular that has been really exciting for you. Are you still on sweaters, or are you going more towards spring summer knits, warmer weather knits? Like I said, a ranunculus. I'm thinking about that too. We'll see how far I get on the Ingrid sweater. I do think that a ranunculus is always a good idea, which is so funny to hear me say that, but I really do. I won't regret that at all. And yeah, I'm really excited about my projects. I hope my enthusiasm is shining through because I'm finally getting back into that spot and I couldn't be happier about it. So thank you guys so much for sitting down and chatting with me about these projects. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some knitting in or just had some relaxing time, maybe not doing anything at all. And if so, good for you because we all need that sometimes. If you like this video, definitely give it a like. That helps me out. And maybe subscribe if you want to stick around. I'd love to have you here. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!